It's Therapy Tuesday, guys, so welcome to the second episode of And Just Like That, We Found Therapy. Today, we will be reviewing Season 1, Episode 2 of Sex and the City, Models and Mortals. For this episode, I am bringing to you a college friend of mine that is now a sex therapist. She had some great advice on how to break out of bad self-esteem patterns, and she had also some different takes to what I did from the episode, which I find very interesting. I would love for you to tell me what you're thinking about the podcast so far. Don't forget to rate me 5 stars, share it with your friends. Hope you guys enjoy it. I love you. Bye. So welcome everyone and welcome Elodie. I'm very excited to introduce to you guys for the second episode my very good friend Elodie. We went to school together in Boston, and since then I think we both have had burned outs. Elodie's burnt out, took her to New Zealand, and then during COVID, she decided to go back to school, and now she is majored in sex therapy. But Elodie, if you want to tell us a bit more about that journey.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Isa, for inviting me. So I'm now a sex therapist and I'm also a sexological body worker. So I work around sex, both with the mind, but also reminding that sex is in the body as well for a better sex life for everyone. Hopefully, that's the that's the goal.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that intro, Elodie. In this episode, we get presented with the fact that New York is very well populated by really above average looking women, and some men that are maybe not that good looking have access to dating models. And they talk about this figure of a man who is a modelizer, i.e. they only date models. They don't date mortals. And they introduce this story by Miranda going on a date with his modelizer. So, Elodie, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about men that care so much about the looks of a woman?
For me, it's like, why would someone prefer a beautiful woman, And some people would say it's the answer is in the question, of course you're going to prefer a beautiful woman. And for me, just having this prism, I don't know if it's English, like this way of seeing thing, it's really...
You can only look in that lane. You can only look at beautiful women. Is that what you mean?
Yes, exactly. If you only, see this line of women through their beauty, it's really, really reducing. But why would men prefer only beautiful women? And I think we can, dive into a little bit of analyzing, different things.
Like insecurity. It's almost like going out and buying a designer bag because, then people know your worth.
Yeah.
Like next to a beautiful woman, you don't have to put up anything. People will know, okay, he's a big deal. He looks like shit, but he's next to a beautiful woman. So he must be rich.
Yes.
Or powerful.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's around self-image. If someone has a high image of themselves, they want to have someone that is their match, someone of the same status. And, models are like the high up in society hierarchy. They want something, someone, that match their idea of themselves.
Yeah.
But for the other people who, have a low image of themselves, being with a model is like they have arrived, as you were saying, like it's enhancing their social standing. It's a big ego boost. And as you were introducing the episode about models and mortal, this is it, models are like God. And if you're close to a God, you're almost like a God.
Yeah. I don't know if I think I read this book right after we graduated from college, but there's this book by Milan Kundera, The Unbearable Lightness of Being, that at one point describes this man that says women don't want a good looking man. They want a man that has been going out with the most beautiful women. And what do you think about that? Do you think that there is that certain allure? Because women, we are more objectified. So you do find alluring men who are used to dating beautiful women. Do you think that that is a thing, that it also plays in the women's mind?
Personally, I don't think so. I think it's more fucking up with women's mind. He used to date models, but now, I don't have those long legs or blah, blah, blah. And then there's always this, parallel, always, and, devaluing yourself. So maybe for some women, it's like, oh, he has models. So, so maybe he can provide because, models have such high standards, expectations, but all about stereotypes. So I think it's really hard to just put everyone in one category, but my perspective is like mostly it's going to be comparison, and it's going to be very hard for women to feel good enough when
Yeah.
you know that your man has dated like models.
So you think that if you were to go out with a modelizer, instead of that being uplifting, that would probably be a miserable ever comparison, like comparing yourself to the other ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it's comparing, but also proving myself on another area. Maybe I'm not the tallest, thinnest, but he's with me. So, I have to be the funniest or whatever.
So what do you think? Because then obviously they go into this other side of things that, the girls are grabbing dinner at Carrie's apartment and they're talking about Barkley, which we need to talk about this because Carrie has this friend, Barkley, who is an artist and apparently a modelizer. And me and Elodie were talking about this before we started recording, that back in the 90s, this guy is filming himself having sex with women, and Carrie asks the question, do they know about this? And he doesn't even blink, and he's like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's like, oh my God, now that we're watching this now, we're like, this is not okay. And I think it's important for us to say this is not okay. And time has changed. And this is a good thing that now we think it's a big red flag and that, we should be alarmed by that kind of behavior and we should not validate it,
No.
even if we're just a witness.
Yeah,
So
I think
let's,
with more
yeah.
camaraderie, I can see this playing out in And Just Like That, the spin-off, and Carrie being like, I'm gonna contact every one of those models, say, by the way, this is out there. So, there's that piece about consent to be said, but besides that, Carrie goes back to tell the girls about this, and then she pulls out a magazine and they start talking about how beautiful women make them feel self-conscious. And I'm very curious to know your take about this because I think, women's relationships are, I think, a lot more complex than men's. And I don't like to generalize, but like I think that's a fair statement. What do you think about, Samantha allegedly feeling more beautiful close to beauty, but then saying, actually, I want to be close to the runway because in this angle you can see all the flaws. Like, what do you think about women who cannot feel beautiful around beautiful women?
I think it's fair enough. It's difficult, and you need to deal with your insecurities. And of course, being with always with in comparison, it's really difficult because it's always a reminder that you're not good enough, maybe, or you're not top model. My advice will be, if I can say this, if it's really hard to find beauty in yourself with models around you or non-models, I think that's valid for everyone. There is so many ways to get better with your body.
Do
Can
you
I give,
have, yeah, can you share a bit more on that? Because I think we've all been there, that at some point
yeah,
you don't feel like you love yourself as much as you should.
yes. So I'm going to give a few, and you can just, pick whatever feels good for you. And maybe, in 2 years, you remember, oh, maybe I should do this exercise. So my first practice will be um, just finding beauty in yourself, but just finding little details. You don't need to, be in front of the mirror and say, I love myself. I find myself beautiful. If it is not what you feel, just don't do this because it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But maybe you're going to like, oh, I think that my hands are beautiful, and just wash your hands. I have gratitude for your hands, and just say my hands are beautiful, and start little, and maybe a week later my hands are beautiful, but I also love my chin, and just building up, and maybe at some point you're gonna love 50% of your body, and that's if you come from 10%, that's good. that's
Yeah.
that's you're on the good way. So that will be one for me that is really useful. And another one is the shower of love. Have you ever done this?
No.
It's
Do-
not sex in the shower.
Okay.
It's just basically like the water flowing from your shower. You're gonna say it's love, and when you in your shower, you're gonna take the water and put it on your body parts. So you can put this water maybe on your belly. and you're gonna say, my belly is receiving love, and my, I don't know, whatever your insecurities are, my arms are receiving love. So those parts of your body that maybe you hate and that you try to disconnect from, and just don't exist, you still give them love because they're still here. And it's important to be one and feel comfortable in your body. Maybe it's not you that giving love to those parts, but they're still receiving it, and they need love as well.
Yeah.
So
Okay. I love
I don't
that.
know.
Any more
Yeah.
you can think of?
Yes, I think it's really different. It's just maybe thinking your body as not only something that is beautiful, but what are you using your body for? So for example, right now I'm using my voice to share things and discuss with you, and maybe, get listeners to question themselves or feel better or whatever. So I feel really a lot of gratitude for my voice right now because it allows me to do something. So maybe think your body of, okay, this allows me maybe to walk to my train
Yeah.
station. Yeah. So your body is your vessel.
Because I'm going to get a bit real with you now, but I think maybe at some points, I believe also in what you put out there. If your vibrations are high, you attract people with high vibrations. But equally, if you're feeling low, it tends to be like a self-fulfilling prophecy that when you feel the worst about yourself, it feels like the world knows and nobody is allured by you, nobody approaches you. And I think at times as a woman, especially like if you're in your 20s, 30s, and you're out there and you are used to receiving attention, and there's some times where you feel like there's a dry spell and you could be doing a backflip, getting run over by a truck, and nobody looks at you. How do you feel that sometimes we are so dependent on external validation to get the permission to love ourselves or to say, I am beautiful and I am lovable and I am attractive? Like, do you think that maybe in those times where we find it hard, like the product's not moving, nobody's coming to the shop to claim this, what is it that you think could be a good way to get out of that rut where maybe because every day you keep reaffirming the low vibrations, the low self-worth, how do you break out of that?
I think this one is not an easy one because there can be so many different layers, such as how you've been raised, that can come into play. So if my advice, if you get really, really deep into this, low energy vibe, get some help because you're in a pattern that needs to be,
And
exploded. And if you cannot do it on yourself, that's fine. And there are therapists that this is their job, and find someone that you feel good with it because um external validation, we're in a society, we live as people who like to be in groups, and this is, we're human, so we kind of need this, yeah, recognition of others. But your, I don't know, the most important value should be within yourself. And external validation is part of it, but you should be stronger, on the balance. This should be stronger for you. Well, this is how I believe, at least.
yeah.
Because it's easier to work on yourself than having others change other people's behavior. So just try to focus on yourself. And if it's harder for yourself, just get help because
Yeah.
we need it.
But I guess maybe also one of the first steps can be one of the three things that you said on how to start loving yourself a bit more. Okay, I wanted to maybe go back again a bit more into the episode because I think also in this episode, when Miranda goes on this date with this guy who's a modelizer, who's like, I'm sorry, like short. Yeah, he might have a good job, but like he's short. He's not particularly attractive to me. And Miranda goes on this date, gets introduced to a bunch of people that are super nice, super smart, good conversation. And then she finds out like the girlfriends of this guy are like, oh my God, we're so grateful that I think his name was Nick brought you to dinner because he's brought all these models and they just push their foot around. They don't say anything. They don't know what we're talking about. And finally, he brought you. So, not obviously a model. And I think, we all know if model is not in our CV, we're not models. But I think there's this thing that Miranda takes it as a personal insult or a personal attack on her appearance that she's not a model. And what am I? Your experiment with like a smart woman? Like, what do you think about Miranda taking this so personally? Because I was like, girl, you had a, yeah, Nick said in a way, like, you had a fantastic time. You met good people. We had a great time. What do you think about her taking this so personally?
Yes, I think it's really funny because she is so shocked by this attitude. And I think it's the way the women, bring it up. Of course, it will be, more like, oh, we want someone, who can have deeper conversation because, this is how we want to build life and he needs to go deeper. Maybe she will not feel this way because she will be more, validated and valued as, a woman with, some spirit and stuff like that. So this is really putting pressure back on the body and, you're not a model and comparing yourself. So I think it goes well with the episode, but the fact that she takes it so, personally, I think it shows her insecurity around this.
Yeah.
And because she was not prepared at all to this. And it's like, oh my God, this is too much. I cannot deal with it.
Yeah.
Which is funny because she's really shocked. And then in this episode, she is not really respectful with Skipper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she is almost gossiping him. And, it's really unrespectful. So I think it's funny that the episode is also showing, well, maybe not what comes around goes around, but
It rolls downhill. Like, because she gets treated badly, she then gets empowered by treating somebody not as well as she should have. And I agree. But then we have a similar thing. Like, I just found it so interesting because, on the one hand, if you look at how, the writers of this show wrote about the men dating the models, but then about how this women feel about beauty. And then in that scene where they're on it, in Carrie's apartment and they're talking about their insecurities, I feel like there's that bonding thing where women love to bond about one, sharing heartbreak, like how much of a fool did your exes made you feel, but also being self-deprecating. And they go around the table and Carrie comments on her nose. Miranda raises her chin and Charlotte talks about her calves. And then they look at Samantha like, okay, your turn. And Samantha's like, no, I feel great about myself, which I think we know that is maybe not true, but they all kind of like look at her like, oh, you're not doing this bonding thing with us. Do you think that is healthy for women to try to bond about being self-deprecating?
no, absolutely not. No. Okay, so for me, bonding over insecurities is like how society trained us to downplay, beauty or intellect or whatever. You have to be modest. And it's more acceptable to be modest and self-depreciate yourself than have some self-confidence because it's more seen as arrogance. And we can see it with, oh, you are a bit arrogant, you're like, you feel yourself higher than everyone, but no, this is not the way. It's not a comparison. It's just I feel good with myself. Maybe it's not true, but she doesn't want to go down this way. And it could be a defense mechanism, like I'm putting myself down first so no one else can do it. I keep the control of it. But for me, in this episode, it's not healthy to do that. I think it's important to welcome vulnerability. If you don't feel good with, I don't know, your double chin, yeah,
Whatever.
whatever, that's okay, and as friends can welcome your vulnerability and your feeling awkward with it, and you can be seen and you can be loved with this. And I don't have to say, oh well, me too, I have this, that is bad. No, I can just welcome you, and I think it's enough. And at least we're not taking each other down. And maybe there's another time where I have to share my insecurities, and that's okay. But let's not take everyone down and confront ourselves being down. I think it's not the good way to do it. Do you see what I'm trying to
Yes.
say?
I'm, I'm trying to picture myself in these conversations because I think I saw myself so much that
Mm,
when we met in college and we would have this issues about like, oh, this boy didn't call me back. And then I would say, well, you think it's bad that this boy didn't call you back? This boy saw me in the street and he crossed to the other side not to have to say hello. And then somebody comes in and is like, you think that's bad? This boy kicked me out of his bed in his flat in the middle of the night. So I I I've seen myself do that. And like sometimes I've been
mhm.
things just to make that's my way of showing up and being like, you're okay. It has happened to everybody and it's been even worse and it's fine. And that's the way that I think I've been taught to provide like nurturing, comfort, validation to my friends. And I thought it like with good results. So, do you think that in those cases it's better to be like, you know what, screw him. He didn't know, because those things are just like you could pick up a Hallmark card and it could be the same. No Hallmark card will say like, oh, don't worry if this guy didn't call you back. There's people out there that this happened to them. Like, do you think that it's a better way to maybe take out those like, well, screw him, not worth it? What do you think?
I think it depends on the situation. Maybe your friend needs, comfort. Maybe, she needs a solution. Maybe she needs, for everyone to be angry with her. It really depends. You need to understand where your friend is coming from and what she needs or he needs. And it's not that easy, it depends.
Okay, and then maybe about Carrie, I'm fascinated by her always because I think, to me she's everything that I'm not. So I've always looked up to her because she's very tiny, she's petite, she's short, she has great boobs, but it's like super, super petite in the like torso area. And I think she's gorgeous and she's different. And they're at this after party after the fashion show, and she looks great. She has a great sense of style, and I think she has the body to carry it. And she says Mr. Big again. And there's this interaction where he's obviously kind of like dropping hints that he's flirting with her, but not picking up anything really. And I think Carrie, gets caught up in those things where she's like eating in the middle of a model's after party, and this guy who she thinks is what would provide her with the ultimate validation, I think, at this stage, comes up and like interrupts her eating, and then they have this clumsy interaction, and then this woman comes up to Mr. Big as his date, and she's a model, and Carrie says, "In a room full of Chanel, I felt like patchouli," and
Mm.
that sentence has stuck with me through the years because I've had that feeling sometimes. Um, do you think that that is her being vulnerable because she thinks she might like this guy? What do you think about how Mr. Big is approaching her? I have so many thoughts about this. What do you think?
Okay, so I think the first thing is that she's eating
Yeah.
in this model thing. And throughout the episode, we can see this, over and over. The girls are bonding with their Chinese food, talking about models. At the beginning of the episode, Miranda is eating cake in the kitchen while speaking about models. I think so. It's really funny. Every time we speak about models, there's food involved, to really do the balance. I think I love it how, the producer has done this. But for Carrie, for me, it's such a tough one. I just want to shake her. I'm like, oh my God, wake up, or please tell me what's going on. Because, as you say, this is how you're feeling about her. But we don't really know what's going on for her. We don't really know what is her intention? What is she really feeling?
Yeah.
And for me, it's really interesting because everyone can kind of put what they want on her. This is,
Yes.
really an open book. Yeah.
Like you can project
Um,
whatever it is that, yes.
Yes. So you're project, you feel, really, the channel comment is for you, stuck for you. And for me, it's like, oh my God, like, why are you allowing yourself to be in this situation?
Yes.
Because I've been in those situations where I should have left, and now I'm like, oh, I'm stuck. And this is
Yes.
really what's striking to me. I'm saying this, not as a therapist, of course, because I could never allow myself to say this, but really how funny how you can put your thing. So for me, I'm not feeling the same way as you do about this scene. And yeah, I think she was hoping for validation here, and obviously she didn't get it. And I think that the fact that the model is coming late in the conversation is really like she was building up this, even if it's clumsy, but they're talking so close to each other. We almost expect something to have happen, but the model comes in and just everything comes down. And yeah, it's
And then on the other side of things, like how would you feel if you were in her shoes or Carrie was your best friend and this guy is flirting with her while on another date? Because I think it's like he is so aggressively putting himself in the running to be something with Carrie, but also being very obvious about being unavailable.
Giving this mixed signals is the worst, I think.
Yeah.
Because you can really get caught up on one side and just see one side. And the thing is that this emotional push and pull is really for me a big warning. Like, where is the respect? Where are the boundaries? He's pushing because it's like idealizing, giving attention. Oh, he's gonna talk to her, and he comes back later on for a 2-second conversation where she works, and it's giving all this little attention and validation. And then he pulls back, coming with a model, devaluing her work, saying, oh, this is cute, like, really criticizing almost it. And
Yeah.
it brings confusion. And for me, Carrie is like in this confusion state. And watch out because, yeah, sorry.
Do you think that maybe when a woman gets into that push and pull and that hot and cold, and, I give you two goods, one bad, or two, yes, I want to date you, one, no. How could you think that? Do you think that you become emotionally invested and then it's less about him? It's just like, oh, I've put up with so much. It's made me feel so many different things that then you get the message like, oh, what we'll get to hear over and over again. Well, he's my Mr. Big, he's made me feel so up, so down. Now I need to see it through. Do you think that there's a bit of
Yeah.
that? Sometimes it's not about the man, but like what you have gone through with that man.
Absolutely. And also, I think you're right. And when you go through this confusion state, like the mind is so confused that if he gives you like a little positive thing, you're going to catch it. And, just it is going to become so big for you. So it is really like how you can manipulate people. You put them into such a horrible state. And then the little things, it's going to be such like a relief for them. And in French, we say it could be a pattern for a narcissistic pervert. I don't know if you say this in English.
I mean,
Like,
I've heard many times about narcissistic behavior, but not pervert. Can you?
yeah, in French, it's like I think it's a narcissistic behavior, but the one that is like pathological, we call it pervert because there is some kind of perversion. Yeah, I know, I love it. This is why I'm like, I'm gonna say this. I don't know, even if it's not English, we should, get this little French things in
I will get it.
it. Please. And for me, it's like, watch out for the red flags because emotional insecurity, lack of empathy, it could be a behavior of someone who's gonna go into this cycle of I give you a lot of things, then I treat you badly. And then I give you a lot of things and treat you badly. And then, the treating you badly, part is bigger and bigger and bigger. And the treating you nicely is smaller, smaller, but you're caught in it. And then you cannot get out of it because when you're a narcissistic pervert, you're also, gonna cut everyone else
Your
from
part.
your world. And so, yeah, exactly. So it gets harder and harder to get out. And at first it was so validating that you need this validation again and again and again. And even if you have to wait longer and be treated badly, because at some point, you're going to get it. And yeah, this is really like a reminder to, watch out for that type of behavior. Maybe it's not,
Bud?
pathological.
Yeah. Nip it in the bud. Just, see it, recognize it, run the other way.
Exactly. And if it's hard for you to see it, my advice will be to write it down. Write down everything that is happening. So maybe you can do, one part of your book, positive things, one part of the book, negative things, and you can read it back. Okay. Am I okay for having been treated badly at this here, 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 here? Because you tend to forget when you're in a confusion state. So sometimes writing it down is like, oof.
I'm dying to ask, though, what goes on in this case in Mr. Big's head? Why do they do that? What triggers this pathological perversion? It's fascinating to see that sometimes they will go through this depths of treating somebody they probably really appreciate so badly.
So I'm not a psychotherapist, so I'm not gonna be able to say if Mr. Big is, a narcissistic pervert or he's just, playing games. So
Yeah.
maybe maybe there's a part of like, ooh, I like the dynamic, the power. And as he's not getting hurt, he doesn't have maybe this empathetic way
He can.
figure things out for the other person. So maybe, he just like the game and, being able to seduce someone, but also, oh, I still can't have any other woman, but I like this little challenge. I don't really know. Let's invite him on the podcast and
Yeah, I will get a psychotherapist to brief us on that side. Thank you so much, Elodie. I think I'm getting to my favorite bit of the episodes where I'm going to ask you, as maybe the sex therapist of some of them and best friend of some of others, because I think there's a bit of more sex in this episode. What would you tell each one of the four girls? So Charlotte doesn't appear that much on this episode, but she talks about calves, 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 like how she's cannot open a magazine without seeing calves and feeling personally attacked by the magazines. What would your advice to her be?
So first of all, don't open a magazine. So that's that's my first advice.
Oh, if you open the magazine.
No, but yeah, because I think now we can say, maybe the same thing for Instagram today. You can follow people who are like looking like models. And if your entire feed is just models, 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 you're not going to compare yourself. You're going to feel bad. So just open your world, maybe look for something different and just don't focus only on this. Open, widen. And I think for Charlotte, it's really important here for the cup thing, but also for her character to be open to witness something different than what she wants, what she expects, and just witness, not something for her, but at least broaden her knowledge of things and
Like,
broaden her knowledge of relationships.
okay, the next Samantha, I think, in this episode, we see her, how she relates to beauty, feeling more beautiful being close to beauty, but then wanting to be close enough to be able to spot the, imperfections. And then seeing Barkley with Carrie at the show and saying, like, oh, is he straight up or with a twist? Meaning, is he gay? Is he straight? Is he available? And once she finds out, he is a modelizer. She made
Mm-hmm.
it her business to sleep with him and then insists on being filmed. And while they're at it, she asks, like, oh, is this being filmed? And he says, no, I only do that with models. And then she's like, well, I won't. What, as a sex therapist, I'm crazy to know what you think about this.
My advice or question will be to Samantha, who are you without your sexuality? And I think this is a big thing. Like outside of sex, where is your power? Because for me, around her, it's all about empowerment and how she uses sex as empowerment. Because it's a way to control and to be, the one with the power, deciding and choosing and going for. And I just want to say, I don't know if you say this in English, but in French, when you sleep with many people, you call them your conquests.
Yes.
So yeah, so it's the war, words that you're using. So I think there is some kind of power that she's looking into this, but also
That it's related to what you said earlier, that if I anticipate somebody commenting on my chin, so if she anticipates being the unavailable one, she'll never get hurt.
yeah, that could be a thing, of course. I think there are many layers to her character. So she could be, doing the self-defense mechanism, but she could also be like, okay, I want this be validated. And every time I'm able to get what I want and pursuing it, I get this validation, but it becomes an addiction. If we can relate to today's world with the apps like Tinder and stuff like that, or OkCupid, and you get match and match and match, and when you don't get a match, you're like, oh, I don't feel good. So then you're caught up in this constant validation seeking,
There,
and this is why I want to ask her. Please let me know what is your power outside of sexuality, just to bring her up in another way than through her sex powers. And the idea is to empower her through other means.
interesting. Okay, next up is Miranda, because Miranda here, she gets the short end of the stick, you might say, by finding out that this guy only asked her out as an experiment and then kind of takes it out on Skipper when Skipper confronts her. And then Miranda's like, oh, validation, come back to my place. What would your advice be to her?
So my advice will be, what do you want? Like, because she gets, I think, both sides of the spectrum on this episode. So what do you really want and why? My question will be, why do you want those things? And place values next to whatever you want. When you put your values next to, okay, maybe I want someone who is, I don't know, ambitious or whatever, and you're just going to put the values next to it, and after, at some point, if you get a long list, you have a lot of values, and you can rank your values.
Want in a partner.
Yeah, like, what are you looking for?
Yeah, if Skipper doesn't fit that wish list and you know that you're not interested, maybe be upfront about it.
I think we're not shopping for a washing machine, and it's we're looking for a human. So we have so many layers, and everyone is not perfect. But if you ask yourself, what are the most important values that I'm looking for in a partner? So maybe, and if your list is like, I don't know, 20 items, it's too long. You're never going to find this perfect partner. But if you put your 20 items, and then next to it you put the values, and then you rank your top 3 or 4 values, it's gonna give you clarity.
Yeah. And maybe not ghost poor Skipper and stop answering his calls.
Yeah, please be, respectful to everyone.
Yeah. Okay, and finally, Carrie. There's her relating to Mr. Big. I think any woman can see that she's smitten by him and what he means to her. And he keeps being hot and cold. Like, I go talk to you at a party, but I am here with another date. I go see you at the cafe where you told me you're right, but I can't stay. I gotta go. What would your advice to Carrie be?
Okay, first of all, for Carrie, as I was stating earlier, I want to ask her what's going on for you, because we can understand that she's kind of trouble with Mr. Big, but I don't know what she feels like. I need words. I need thoughts. I need feeling, sensation. Tell me something. Yeah, get it out there. We need communication.
I think for her, what she means, and I think this relates back to her sentence of like, in a room full of Chanel, I felt like patchouli. To me, she sees Mr. Big as her ticket to Chanel land. He would be the designer bag claiming like, fine, I can be scrappy and I write a sex column in this shitty newspaper, but like, he's a big deal. So here's my worth. Attaching him to the worth. I think that's what she's projecting onto him. And that's why she is like smitten about getting something with him.
So maybe he's her model, her, gods, closer to.
I do think what beauty is in women, power is in men. And he's powerful. And he also has the allure of dating beautiful women that I think some women care about. So would your advice to her be like, run away, girl, like this guy is showing his true color, he's unavailable? Or would you advise for her to be like, if you really like him, maybe try to get to know him and call him out? Or what would your advice be?
My advice will be like, it's her tickets to, the Chanel. Is this okay for her? Like, can we put consciousness on it? And maybe this pattern is not okay for her. She wants to achieve by herself, or maybe that's okay. And so if it's okay for her, like, what is it worth? Is it okay to be treated badly or not? And just put a light on it and see where she stands. Because I can tell her, oh, bad idea, don't go there. But if she's, attracted to this thing, my advice will be that, useless. Like, she needs to, go deeper and understand what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Great advice. Thank you so much, Elodie. This has been all great advice. So lastly, where can people find you, and maybe describe a bit more how you work with your clients?
Yes. So thank you for inviting me. It was really fun. So I work in Bordeaux in France, but I'm also open to work remotely. So we can do online sessions. And my work is around sex, and the body. For me, it's really important to put the body into play, because we have sex with the body. So most of my work with women is around understanding their anatomy, understanding how they work, and consent, understanding, what is consent from them and how does it feel in your body. It's different to understand it in your head and feeling it in your body and listening to all the little things that your body is telling you to say yes, no, yes, no. So I work a lot around this. And I think for men, I work mostly to give them clarity about how we all are different, how they can better understand their partner, and how can they understand their needs and communicate it. And so it's different work, but both of the work are really important, I think, for a healthier sex life.
Fantastic. That sounds super interesting. I will put in the show notes the website on how they can find you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Elodie. Talk to you soon.
Bye bye.